Hope everyone's having a pleasant day. We are here in Ann Arbor, Michigan this afternoon, the home of the 1997 World Champion Wolverine football team, which Tom Brady played on as a freshman. And we just got the latest update, the so-called holiday update to our software. And for those who are interested, it's 2023.44.30.4. And that's the software, and the full self-driving is version 11.4.9. And this is the big update everybody's been talking about for a couple days now, almost a week, because of what it represents. And what a lot of people have been saying is that it's a so-called recall. It's a recall of 2 million cars, and that may or may not technically be the accurate description. In reality, it's a software update that comes to your car, and you just push the button that says accept or schedule, and it installs it at night, and then it is working the next morning. And that's what happened to us last night. We got the notification yesterday saying, new software package. Do you want to install it now, or do you want to schedule it to happen overnight? And it was the middle of the day, and I said no, happen overnight. And so at some point last night, we drove in from Pennsylvania, left at about 8 p.m., got halfway there by midnight, and in the morning, woke up, got in the car to leave, and the new software package was installed and running. Again, the autopilot is 11, or the FSD, the full self-driving, is 11.4.9, and the software is 2023.44.30.4. And don't really know what that means, but in terms of the software, but the FSD, again, it apparently is significantly upgraded from the previous version. And what a lot of people are saying is that, hey, this makes it completely unusable, and this makes it useless because it's constantly bugging you to wiggle the steering wheel, and it's constantly, every 2 seconds you got to wiggle the steering wheel. But in reality, okay, some people have said that, and some people have said, no, it doesn't make a difference. And we drove about 250 miles this morning and early afternoon to get here to Ann Arbor. And to be honest, it didn't bother us hardly a single time. It didn't bother us any more than it did in the past. And I think the first time we engaged FSD or full self-driving this morning, we had it on for close to an hour nonstop without any deactivations or whatever. And it ran the same damn way it did yesterday and the day before and 2 months ago. And so that's the good news. And maybe it's just the car that we own. We've got a 2020 Model S Long Range Plus. It's the pre-refresh. Okay, so it's got the original interior from 2012-13, whenever the car first came out. It's got the real dashboard, the real instrument panel, unlike the Model Y and the Model 3, which don't have an instrument panel. It's got the portrait mode center screen, which is the original one, which I prefer because look how big that map is. It's a gigantic map screen on there. Gigantic map screen. And on the new screen, on the refresh Model S, it's not portrait mode anymore, it's landscape mode, and the map is a lot smaller in the refresh, which I think happened in 21. So in the pre-2021 Model S and Model X, it's got your gigantic 17-inch portrait mode screen, which has a huge maps screen on it, and it works great, and it's beautiful, and it's very user-friendly. And so maybe it's just the fact that the car is a little bit older, and maybe it doesn't have like one of those interior cameras facing the driver to see what the driver's up to, which maybe the newer ones have, but I don't think it's got one of those. And so it's not snooping on the driver, checking if the driver's paying attention like you might have in your Ford with Blue Cruise or your GM with Super Cruise, that actually scans to see where your eyes are looking. And if your eyes are looking, at your phone, or if your eyes are looking off to the side of the vehicle, the car will catch you and it'll start bugging you to pay attention better. This car has never done that. And again, so I don't think this car with this interior has a driver-facing camera. It's possible that the Model Y and the Model 3 have it, and it's possible that the refreshed Model S and X have it starting in 2021. This one definitely does not, at least to my knowledge. And so, like I said, it's not bugging us any more than it ever has in the past, which is, again, not a lot. It's just letting us go about our business. And on city streets, it works just fine. On the highways, it works just fine. Like I said, we drove 250 miles this morning and early afternoon to finish the trip from Eastern Pennsylvania to Ann Arbor. And the FSD worked about exactly the way it did the previous day, which was 11.4.4, and this is 11.4.9. And so, I mean, I hate to say it's a nothing burger, because I'm sure there's a lot of improvements. You know, the release notes had tons and tons of improvements that it was discussing, but again, the impact on the driver, it doesn't feel at all different. It doesn't feel different in the least. And so, you know, so there it is. You know, the observation from here is that the update, which a lot of people are afraid to get because they think it's going to ruin their car and make it undrivable and ruin the user experience of autopilot or full self-driving. Yes. It again, from where we're at, no, it feels exactly the same as it did before. The one thing that I noticed that's different is that apparently the visualization, you know, the FSD visualization is different, and apparently, at least on your map screen, you do get the primary route and then an alternate route that you could take if you wanted to, and that is new because you did not used to get that. You used to only get the primary route, and that was all you got after you started driving. Before you started driving, you get multiple routes to choose from, and then once you started driving, you only had one route. And so that is a difference between today and yesterday, between the new and the old software. But between the new and the old full self-driving system or autopilot, nope, it feels identical to the way it used to. Again, in the 2020 Model S Long Range Plus. And I'll mention something else. Again, they say the visualization's different, but I don't notice. Here's the other thing I'm going to mention. We've been driving mostly on the highway. Look at our watt hours per mile, 278. Average over the last 30 miles. Okay, in the last 30 miles, we were on like a secondary road going 40 or 50 versus being on the interstate going 70 or 80. But then again, the entire trip here, I was watching the trip meter. Yes. And watch this. Okay. Select your trips. And check it out since the last charge. 287 watt hours per mile, otherwise known as about 3.5, close to 4 kilowatt hours per mile, depending how you, or miles per kilowatt hour, I should say, yes. Depending how you want to measure it. And it doesn't lose a lot of range in cold weather. The weather today is in like the 30s and 40s, and it does not lose a lot of range, hardly at all. Maybe 20%, if that. And this is not the refreshed Model S. This is the original. A lot of the original parts of the Model S, including the heater, which is not a heat exchanger or a heat pump. It's just a plain old electric heater in this car, and it's still, even so, gets really, really good what you might call fuel economy in winter driving. 289 watt hours per mile, or roughly 3.5-4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is like two different ways of saying the same thing. There's the Big House, by the way. The largest football stadium in the country. It can seat 110,000, give or take. And typically on game days, it is almost always the single most heavily attended football stadium of anywhere in the country. And it's right here in downtown Ann Arbor. Very neat experience if you've never gone to a game here. Very, very neat experience. And I think we're doing really well this year. We beat Ohio State, beat Iowa for the Big Ten championships, and who knows? You know, I guess we're in the playoffs and might actually go all the way. We'll see. It's been a long, long time coming. Like I said, 1997 was the last year Michigan won the national championships. So anyway, long story short,
yes.
the refresh software does not appear to ruin the driving experience, at least in this car, the 2020 Model S Long Range Plus. Maybe in another car, maybe in a Model 3 or a Model Y, it does ruin it. In this car, no, it appears to work just fine. And so that was a good news story. We were, a little bit curious as to what it was going to be like to get in this thing and start driving it this morning and get on the highway and start putting miles on it. And again, so far so good. The only substantive difference in the driving experience is the fact that you get alternate routes shown on your navigation screen in a way that you did not in the past. And the FSD visualization, apparently it's a little bit different, a little bit improved, but no, again, it's overall a good news story. The major holiday update, and so that's the news from here. Like I said, it could have been a disaster, and it would not have been a pleasant experience driving a car that was bugging you every 5 seconds to wiggle the steering wheel. As a lot of people have said, it does. That's the Chrysler Arena there. That's where the basketball games happen, and that's where graduations happen when it's like raining or whatnot. But again, so far so good in the update to the full self-driving software and the MCU software on the 2020 Tesla Model S Long Range Plus. All right, that's all for now. Hope you all have a good Christmas in a couple days here, and we will talk to you later.